What happened to the Luftwaffe later in the war? Why wasn't it as effective as it was in the early war? That's what we will be talking about in this episode / series of Luftwaffe, Down and Out, written by Mitchell D. Becker. Welcome to World War II in the Eyes of the Beholder. I'm Matthias. So, 10 years ago, my dad was in Army Staff College during his 26-year time in the Navy. That was in July 2010. That would have been 3. So, yeah. And he had a requirement to write a paper. He also has a degree in history, and he studied the Civil War for his college and high school history. So he wrote this to satisfy the requirements of the H200 military history course. World count 926, Luftwaffe down and out. He wrote this for the United States Army Command and General Staff College. By Mitchell D. Becker, LCDR USN. And it was written in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, July 2010. Let's get into it. I'm so excited for this episode. It's really cool that I get to be a part of my dad's history as well as the history of the war. So I'm really excited. There's quite a few pages in this, so we might be doing a couple episodes, depending on how it turns out. So, let's get into it. The German Luftwaffe failed to innovate and adapt to strategic and political circumstances and went from most powerful air force in the world in 1939 to a totally defeated air force in 1944. Germany relied heavily upon air power and advantage, but was plagued by a shortage of resources. And because it was not fully mobilized, industrially-wise, until the final year of the war, or 1944. The most tactical and operational proficient and capable air force on the eve of World War II, the Luftwaffe doomed itself to failure by not forming or following a holistic overall strategic plan to dominate the skies. Failing to innovate and adapt sufficiently, this once brightest burning light of the Nazi regime was snuffed out even before the war ended. Prohibited by the Treaty of Versailles from building a single military aircraft, Adolf Hitler and his aviation boss, Hermann Göring, harnessed civilian aviation and accompanying industry during the interwar years. And aviation flourished in Germany as in no other country. German aviation became a symbol of repressed national anger. Speaking to Flying Cub aviators, Göring bulged. My comrades, after the dissolution of the old German Air Force, the terrible longing for flying, nevertheless, remained in all of you. The new Reich has ordered the flying, even in other forms of sporting, and civil flying shall rise again. The German nation shall become a nation of pilots. And I quote Hermann Göring. Sensing opportunity, Hitler had Germany begin producing military planes. First in Russia under a guise, then in Germany itself. Hitler and Hermann Göring often used their bright, shiny new Luftwaffe as propaganda tool, which was to threaten European nation into appeasement, bringing dignitaries from all over Europe to Germany to show them staged, inflated parts, which were actually a majority, of their newly formed air arm. They bragged in the order to captivate international audiences about their successful utilization of German air power in Spain in the Spanish Civil War of 1939. If you guys want me to do a video about that, comment below. As a result, installing the dread of bombing that would be delivered as promised to any nation who dared inhabit reasonable German goals. The German Air Force grew to 15,000 officers and 370,000 men, and was the most savviest air power in the world on the eve of World War II. Although it had become the most tactical and operational proficient and capable air force, the Luftwaffe did not form and follow a holistic strategic plan for employment of the air power. Air and ground commanders worked very well together in maximizing air support for battlefield and advantage on the ground. This operational mode was, however, a double-edged sword, in that the Luftwaffe was not truly independent and was not permitted to take full advantage of fairly new military capabilities of leaping over enemy lines and stabbing hundreds of miles deep into the heart of enemy territory. By not building long-range fighters and bombers, Germany missed supreme opportunities to protect power abroad and win battles over morale in the Axis and Allied nations. Failure to gain air superiority over Britain led Hitler to call off a planned invasion of Britain, Operation Sea Lion. I have a video about that, link in the description. Although the Luftwaffe contributed sufficiently against Russia intentionally, German air power was physically unable to fly deep enough into vast Russian territory to pursue retreating forces efficiently. With Britain safe, all but a few V-2 rockets toward the end of the war prevented Britain from doing a lot, and it didn't even do that much. Allied bombing runs raised public morale and caused severe social disruption in Germany. 8 million Germans fled the cities for the countryside by late 1940 because strategic bombing raids had become a planned on or a staged event happening on a regular basis. In France, the Luftwaffe had reached a strategic limit early in the war. If she would not build bombers or develop naval aviation to leap the English Channel, it could do nothing but transition to defense. German air defenses over France were very effective at first, with a dense network of warning radar and well-coordinated strikes on bomber raids. However, regardless of Luftwaffe ability to inflict heavy losses on incoming British and American bombers, the Allies remained on the offensive in the air and were able to constantly and persistently target key infrastructure. Once Allied bomber escorts fighters began peeling off and engaging Luftwaffe fighters in the air and on the ground at every opportunity, Germany could not stop the fatal, disastrous consequences that happened to their planes and pilots. And that will end this episode. I have a few more episodes coming on this, so they will be coming out shortly. If you like this, please comment down below, like this video, and I will see you next time.